Are you ready to buy a house at a great price? Auction.com offers a unique way to find property deals, but this process can seem a little bit overwhelming at first. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through step-by-step process of buying a house on auction.com so you can bid comfortably and confidently and snag up your dream property, whether it's for yourself buying, living in, or a vacation home or an investment property. So first, we're going to start off talking about understanding what is auction.com. And I'm going to share my screen now. And auction.com is essentially a platform where, we have different types of properties available for sale. So let's give you a taste of what's on here. So we'll just go to Texas first as a state. And the three main properties essentially, so auction.com is an online marketplace specializing in real estate auctions, and they primarily focus on foreclosures, bank owned or REO properties, or distressed homes. And under here, you'll kind of see here as the asset type, it says REO, bank owned, foreclosure, and private sellers. So these are properties that already went through the foreclosure process and now the bank owns them again. Again, banks aren't on the business of keeping properties. They want to make loans. So that's why they use a site like auction.com that connects buyers and sellers together, and they talk about millions of buyers and sell their properties quickly. Foreclosures, local state governments, whether it's sheriff sale or tax sales, utilize the platform as well to make it easier for bidding. And then there's private sellers. Like if you had inherited a state property or want to dispose of a few of your rental properties, this might be an easy way to quickly use this platform to sell your properties. So overall, auction.com's got millions of buyers, and it's a platform for these buyers to discover potential distressed properties or good condition properties, and buyers bid on them, and you could get I get a lot of properties at a discounted value through this platform. So that's auction.com. So what are the steps now to going about this? And first, you want to set up an account and you want to research property. So those are your two kind of like the first two main steps. And if you don't have an account already, you just go up here, auction.com, sign up. And if you're going to the main page, again, it'll be top right here, sign up. Just basic name, email, password, county where you get, and you create an account. And then from there, they'll ask you then to sign up for a buyer's profile. You could add more information about yourself, the name or entity you're buying in, etc. So it's a way to, in order to bid on this, you have to have a profile and an account. However, you could view properties without having a profile, just can't bid. So that's going to be your first most important step. And again, registration's free here, and it's going to give you access to more information and more details on all the properties because it'll unlock your account essentially. And then using the search filters on properties that meet your criteria. So you could filter on location, price, property type, and more. And just to show that as an example, go back here. So maybe you just want to look at 3 beds plus, you could filter on that. Maybe you just want to look at multifamily. Again, you could type in whatever city, state you had. It defaulted to a city in New Jersey. Maybe you just want bank owned or just private seller, click that. Online or in person. If you just want a vacant house, click on vacant. And then there's more features and filters that you could utilize. So you could really narrow down a search instead of looking at 543 properties in this area. You can narrow it down to more geographical or certain, property type or condition and things like that. And then once you have that kind of list, next thing you want to do is, you want to, within a property, you could also review additional information that they have at the bottom where, in this property, it's vacant. There's no buyer's premium on it. You can't get interior access. It's a cash only sale. And each of these properties will have that. Again, I'm not logged in, but you could get more market data here if you were logged in. And then there's different examples of purchases, sale agreements, and other things here, additional documentation needed on the properties and certain disclosures you take a look at as well on each property. So that's kind of like you doing your homework. And then also, once you identify the properties you want, how do you determine what the values are? We got great videos on that. If you just go to our channel here and type in the word comps, there's going to be plenty of like how to comp properties using Zillow for free and more and quickly analyze properties. So feel free to use our YouTube page. We got tons of videos on how to determine, what a property is worth fixed up and as is condition, how do you determine rehab costs and more. So feel free to utilize other videos on our channel to help you with that. So now, you got auction.com. You understand how to filter your criteria down to the properties you want to review. Using our other tools on our page, you know how to comp properties, determine what their values are, determine rehabs and everything else. What's the next step? And that's really you want to be prepared financially. And what I mean by that is, buying on auction.com could require quick payments And so you got to make sure you're financially prepared. Like, do you have the funds already available? Is it cash or are you like pre-approved with a loan if there's a loan allowed on the property? You also got to be aware of earnest money deposit. When you win a property at auction, you'll have a few days to sign all the contracts and then send in some kind of earnest money deposit. And earnest money deposits are usually anywhere from 5%, about 5% of the winning bid or $2,500. So that's cash up front that you're going to need as well. And then you want to understand, most properties on this platform are sold in as-is condition, so you can't negotiate with the seller to make repairs. So that's something, part of your analysis that you'll already have figured out. So just from a financial perspective, if you have the cash, we got, again, videos on our channel on different ways to buy these properties, whether it's through your own HELOC, savings, or utilizing like an asset-based lender or private lenders. And then from there, just be aware you might have to put in the initial earnest money deposit in a few days. Next, how do we participate in an auction? So once you've chosen a property like I have here, I'm not logged in here, but you could do register to bid. And then again, you would log in and then it would drop you in here. And in this case, a bid deposit is 1,000 required. And you could just add that to the account and then you'd be eligible to bid on this property. Not every property has this bid amount deposit to $4,000 to participate in. But just another thing I just want you to be aware of, where auction.com for certain properties, you almost have to put up an $1,000 deposit that you get back, if you don't want to bid anymore or win a property. But that's another feature I just wanted to make you guys aware of. And if this is a property you wanted, you would bid on it, and then from there, going into each property before going back to your analysis stage, a few steps before, you want to set your max bid. So going into the auction, I only want to bid up to 425. So you want to make the next bid on this property or whatever the price may be. And from there, you want to continue to monitor, because if it's like an REO sale, it might come back for another auction cycle. If the bidding didn't hit a reserve amount, which isn't always published. Here they just said the reserve amount is not published. It just hasn't been met yet. And it's like behind the scenes number. So in this case, the reserve might be 500K. So anyone that wins and it's less than 500K, that the seller could decline that highest bid and put the auction or put the property back on auction. So just something to be aware of. Like, don't just place a bid and it goes off auction, forget about it. Continue to monitor the property. And the other thing to remember too is when the winning bid, that's not your final cost. So if you just say you wanted 425 here as the winning bid, that's not your final cost, because sometimes you could be paying a buyer's premium. Again, there's no buyer's premium on this property, but that could be an additional 5% of your winning bid. And there's obviously other traditional closing costs at the county level, any type of title search, et cetera, that you got to include as part of the closing costs as well. And next, after you win the property, what are things to consider? So if you're the winning bidder, you're going to basically get a congratulations email, and you're going to now it's time to complete the transaction. So you're going to get an email from the auction.com, and you'll submit the earnest money deposit within their specified time frame, along with some other contractual paperwork that you got to sign. And you're going to work with the seller on the platform and your closing company to finalize the closing process, which will involve, your standard, title search and then transfer of title and any other additional paperwork that's needed. So you want to make sure you review all the terms to avoid any, penalties or cancellations, so you didn't miss any due diligence on your part to sign and keep the ball moving forward, and, making sure your title company, and I recommend using your own title company to review, or attorney, depending on what state you're in, to review the closed transaction for you. And then we'll end with some tips on success for an auction. To make the most of your experience, you want to do research on the property and its neighborhood. You want to stick to your budget and avoid emotional bidding. So with each property, have a maximum bid. Don't let emotions go into it and bid over that. And then you just want to be prepared to act quickly. If you win, you're going to have a few days to sign some stuff, do an initial wire over earnest money deposit, and then usually, closings are probably 30 days later. So, consult also with a real estate agent or an attorney if you're newer to the property auctions for additional guidance. If you're determining certain bids on certain properties, maybe check with a local agent to make sure your numbers are right. And again, during the closing process, use a local attorney or title company to walk you through that process. Don't do it yourself. So buying a house on auction.com is a great way to find unique opportunities in the real estate market. And with proper preparation and strategy, you can secure a property at a really competitive price. and hit a home run potentially on an investment deal. So remember, knowledge is power, and you got to do your research and go into each property with what your budget is, and then from there you could bid confidently. If you have bought a house on auction.com, I'd love to hear your experience. Drop them in the comments below. And if you have any questions on auction.com, again, put them in the comment section below. Happy to answer them directly or create a future video